All right. Good evening. My name is Nicole Thomas. I am here this evening working on our video recordings for assignment number 6, which is about correlation of Pearson correlation. I'm going to get started this evening. I'm excited about this specific testing because I believe this is the testing that I'm going to be using um, for my actual dissertation. So I'm going to check the screen because I often have technology issues. I'm going to stop sharing so that I can pause. I want to make sure that you're able to see and hear me as well. All right, my apologies if you can hear um, things other than me in the video because my children are here. Um, okay, so let's go ahead and get started. First, we need to start at step 0, and that's the verb analysis framework. And we're just taking a look at let's make sure that you're able to see. Stop sharing. All right, I'm gonna go back and pull up the actual, all right, document. All right, we're sharing again. Okay, there it is. All right, so my research question is there a significant relationship between parent involvement and the percentage of students meeting their reading benchmarks among middle school students at McNair Middle School? All right, and the verb that we identified is the relationship between. It signals, it is relational, and it is the variables, which are my X and Y variables, parent involvement, as well as the percentage of students who are meeting reading scores. They're both continuous. So that follows the assumptions, checks out the assumptions. They're neither independent or dependent, because that would signal that we either need to run a t-test or an ANOVA, based upon the number of variables with the ANOVA. But the research question, it is two-tailed in its direction, and it signifies a correlational approach. So the assumptions suggest that also, as we see that there we may be looking into a Spearman's role that may be more appropriate. However, I did test both. Okay. All right. So making sure that all things are one of the things that I wanted to say that before we began to run the analysis, it would be a good idea to do a scatter plot, and that's simply to just tell us whether the relationship is positive or whether it is negative, or if there is, in a sense, the linear relationship, which is there a straight line can be drawn through. Once again, I'm going to stop sharing because I need to make sure that you're able to see me as well as uh, the information I'm sharing. I'm stop sharing. All right. We're back. Let's make sure that you're able to see me. Yes. All right. So one of the very important things that I needed to say that I may have skipped over. Let's move us over here. Able to see. Yes. All right. I need to make sure that you're able to see the hypothesis and the alpha, the null hypothesis, which is wrote that there is not a significant relationship between parent involvement and the percentage of students who are meeting their reading benchmarks. then, and the symbol for that is rho equals 0. Okay, there's nothing significant happening there. Everything looks equal. The alternative to that, or the research hypothesis, is there is a significant relationship between parent involvement and the percentage of students meeting their reading benchmark. So they're saying that as one variable moves, the other one moves along with it. And that symbol is rho does not equal 0. And we're using the alpha level 0.05 because we're assuming that risk of error, that 5% risk of error. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull up our what I was working with, because I've already been practicing. So we're taking a look at, we want to look at parental involvement. And when we go over here, all right, let me make sure that you're able to see. All right, I'm going to come out of to make sure that you're able to see. Let's go back up. And let's click on the practice file. All right, there it is. All right, the practice file is there. I'm now looking at our variable and data view window. And we are looking at parental involvement. Parental involvement is scale, as we were talking about. So it is continuous. And we need to also make sure that the percentage of students meeting their reading benchmarks, it is also scale, which means that it is continuous. So the assumptions are meant, but before we do so, we need to also, let me click on the data view. All right, we see the school IDs, percentage of students meeting reading, and what we're also looking at, our other variable, parental involvement. All right, going back over. We need to look at a scatter plot, simply to look for outliers, to see if these two variables covary. You know, if there's enough of variance between two. And if one is at 0, then what does that 0 actually mean? Making sure again that you're able to see. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna navigate to our graphs. Graphs, I'm gonna go down to the scatter dots. I'm gonna do a simple scatter, define, and I've already been working with this. And so I had percentage of, let me move this over. Percentage of students meeting reading on the x-axis, and then also take climate out. And let's look at parental involvement. And click OK. And there's our graph for percentage of students meeting reading, and then parental involvement. Because we want to know, are students meeting whatever their goal is, that goal based upon the number of hours that parents are involved in the school process or in the daily process. And so it looks like this, with this graph, you see that the ceiling effect has taken place because we have them at about 90% right here, but you have a few right at 100%. So there's basically nowhere else for them to go. But then you have a few down on 80% benchmark, reading benchmark. There's a lot of space right here that is empty. Let me check to make sure that you're able to see. And it looks like you're not. So each time it looks like I'm able to come out and go click on the specific screen. Okay. All right, so here's our graph, and we can see our scatter plot, scatter plot. All right, showing the ceiling effects. And then we have a few down at the bottom at 0. And we want to know essentially what does this 0 mean? Okay, because they're on 0 right here for the reading benchmark, but actually looks like they're at about 37% of parental involvement hours, all the way down to about 65%. So I would think that specifically means something. All right. And we have to figure out whether it's going to be a strong or weak relationship that's happening. But right up here, you can draw a line in between. Let's go in and look now at our, let's go ahead and see, let's analyze. All right, let's make sure that you are able to see. I'm gonna stop sharing. Okay, let's go back. And let's go ahead and check for normality with our Shapiro-Wilk. Yes, I want to make sure that. All right. All right, so let's go ahead and analyze. And we want to make sure we do descriptive. We want to explore. Uh, dependentness. And while we're doing that, we want to do our plots. Make sure you can see them at the same time. Your histogram, your Madeline plots. And let's continue. Let's see. Oh, we have some warnings. Trial and error. All right. Let's go back up. Fix this. Let's see what we did wrong. Let's do one at a time. Descriptive. I'm sorry. Explore. Let's take that out. No stem relief. Continue. All right. Here we are. Okay. So our number is 80 students. We're looking at the percentage of students meeting reading. Let's look, move down. Oh, need to make sure that you're able to see what I see and you're not. Oh, goodness. I'm gonna stop sharing so that you can see. Share. So that you're able to see what I'm seeing. Okay. All right, here we are. All right, our Shapiro-Wilk, we have it at 0.35. The statistic is at 0.34, and that's significant. And 0.001. And let's take a look down. Let's look at our histogram. histogram. And there we are. We have that outlier over to the side out here at 0%. The rest between 80 to 100 percent of meeting. And if we have just not on the line, it's a little bit under the line on our Q plot, signifying, looks like it's signifying low correlation. And then we have these outliers down here at the bottom. So we click on that and look at the elements and our data value, data mode. Let's make sure that you're able to see. I have to make sure that you're able to see what I see all times. All right, now we're in our data label editor or our chart editor. And we'll come out of here. And let's go to the data. Let's sort our data. Doing something wrong. Stop sharing to make sure. I've been working. I don't know if I've been working with it, so let's pull up. All right, let's pull up the other one that I had and was working with. Percentage of the meaning reading. Okay. I want to go back to our Shapiro work. Here it is. Okay, degrees of freedom, say 80. All right. Put our histogram, our QQ plot. And then right here. Say that you're able to see what I'm saying. Okay, doing good. All right. And on this particular one, I went ahead and ran the actual analysis with where we will correlate our variance. All right, and I added the percentage of meeting reading and also the parental involvement over, and then we also added in the bootstrap. We made sure the correlation and coefficients, Pearson and Spearman were selected, two-tailed, and we flagged significant correlations. And this is what we came up with. We want to know what was that zero that we saw earlier, what did it mean? And specifically, when you look at, when we ran the Pearson's correlation or the Pearson's row, there were no highly positive, none, no linear correlation, highly negative. So what we gathered was that from the Pearson's R, that the parental involvement and the percentage meeting reading, they were not moving together under the Pearson's row. So then when we look at the Spearman's row, we got a negative number. All right, we have a -2, which was very low. Correlation coefficient. But when you look at the information for it, it's saying the same thing. So it's looking like they're agreeing. No linear correlation. They're agreeing. So when the two are agreeing, we were able to, sorry, this was the one where they had the big issue. I'll switch back so that you can see. One moment. Stop sharing to make sure that you're able to see. And I am seeing. So let's go to what our key findings show. All right. So this up. Check to see if you can see what I see. And yes, you can. So Pearson's correlation was conducted to examine the relationship between parental involvement and the percentage of students meeting reading benchmarks, and it showed that there was no statistically significant relationship because our Pearson's R was a negative 0.037, which is about a negative 4%. So that's basically the effect size was basically zero, essentially. And that showed that there was no statistical significant relationship. The Spearman's correlation, it was at a negative 2%, just right here. It's at a negative 2%. Well, not even to 0.002%. And again, there was no relationship there. So those two, they agreed. The scatter plots also showed there was no clear linear trend. So there was a weak correlation. And I want to make sure that I'm saying correlation because correlation does not equal cause. So one thing does not cause the other to happen. They simply move in a relational pattern. These findings suggest that parental involvement is not significantly associated with the reading benchmark performance in this sample. All right. Well, that is the end of analysis. I hope that I was able to correctly perform correlational testing with the SPSS. I will be working more on this because I believe this is what I will be using for my dissertation. I'm Nicole Thomas, and good night. Stop sharing.